Hello, all you disgusting human beings. So, Fayless reviews Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City. I honestly expect nothing other than maybe it could be bad type of movie. But I ain't gonna watch that shit. Cause when it comes to zombies, there's only so much I can tolerate before I end up getting sick in the stomach. So what does Fayless have to do? So what's Fayless gonna give us for this particular review? Other than crappy sandwich jokes that I am rather shocked has not been dead by this point.
It really shouldn't be that hard to adapt Resident Evil into a really great movie, but based on the results we keep getting, it's apparently one of the hardest things in the universe. Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City.
Accurate in all the wrong ways, I just saw that.
It's the 7th live-action Resident Evil movie, and the first one of these not to be part of the complete mess that was the Resident Alice universe. Reactions to this movie seem to be all over the place. I've had some people tell me that at least it's better than the Alice show, and others say it makes the Alice is the only competent person in the world series look wonderful. I'd say that's a bit of an exaggeration. While I do have a fair amount of issues with this movie, Welcome to Raccoon City doesn't radically change its continuity from scene to scene, like Resident Alice did every movie. If we put Welcome to Raccoon City against just the 2002 Resident Evil movie, it's a bit of a closer call. Alice wasn't an overpowered, overbearing presence in that movie, and it told an okay story that could have fit within the RE universe. It's more of an action movie than horror though, and I wish it wasn't lasers that took out half the cast. Welcome to Raccoon City at least has it be zombies and other T or G virus mutants be what takes out the majority of the side characters. Though I've got to say the danger element to any of the main characters was not very strong at any point in Welcome to Raccoon City. One of the weirdest things about this movie is how accurate it is at times while also being wildly inaccurate. The major issue about what they're being super close to the games with is it just being little bits they have recreated almost one-to-one while the main stories become a jumbled up mess and all the main characters feel off. This movie could have been called Resident Evil Missing the Forest for the Trees.
It's Forest. Oh my God.
And speaking of good old Barry Burton, guess who's not in this movie? I should give it a thumbs down just for that. Since this movie is partly an adaptation of Resident Evil 1, Barry's absence is quite noticeable. I also thought that Donald Logue, who plays Chief Irons in this movie, could have been a decent Barry Burton instead had we gotten a focused adaptation of RE1. So yeah, I've always wished for a movie adaptation of the Arkley Mansion incident from Resident Evil 1, and Welcome to Raccoon City finally did that. But do you know what getting it like this kind of felt like? Yeah. Probably one of the most baffling decisions about this movie is the fact that they have Resident Evil 2's story happening at the same time as Resident Evil 1's. So instead of telling one of these games' stories well, they have them interrupting each other, ruining the flow, and making the whole thing feel rather unfocused. One of the
From what I gathered from the trailers, two stories happening at the same time, I'm pretty sure that's not gonna work there, buddy.
effective things about doing a proper adaptation of the Arkley Mansion story would be feeling stuck and lost in this place with the characters. You should feel like you're exploring it alongside them and having the horror and tension build up as they run into zombies and things escalate as they go further down into the labs and run into the other T-virus creatures. This movie completely screws that up because you're constantly cutting back away from that story to the other characters outside the mansion. It's also not until like halfway through the movie that you get them running into the first zombie from the mansion. Yep, it's around 54 minutes in, you get a nice recreation of the encountering the first zombie scene, which on its own looks pretty good. But in context, we've been seeing people dealing with a bunch of zombies in Raccoon City before this point, so it's not a dramatic reveal to the audience or a proper build-up of anything and falls extremely flat.
Oh.
It's frustrating with this movie because you can tell that they looked at the games and dropped in a bunch of references, but they didn't keep things true to the series where it really counted. Jill Valentine in this movie is kind of an angry gun nut, so that doesn't really feel true to her at all. Claire Redfield is one of my favorite Resident Evil characters because she has a bit of a sarcastic edge to her, but here she's just kinda angry too. Leon Kennedy is a bozo who got his job because of nepotism, and he never really proves he should have been there in the first place. And
Also, I hate his hair and his beard. I absolutely hate it.
RE2, Leon is a rookie cop who, despite his lack of experience, rises to the occasion and survives the Raccoon City outbreak. Here, he's just some useless idiot who manages to survive despite himself and picks up a rocket launcher at the end. Chris Redfield is also kind of a head-in-the-clouds dummy who doesn't listen to his sister. And wildly off is Albert Wesker, who isn't even secretly working for Umbrella and doesn't even have a bit of that trying to play cool persona from the games. Some reviews have said that this proves that a more faithful adaptation of the games doesn't work for a movie, and I think they really missed what actually went wrong here for that takeaway. This movie opens with a nurse watching The Golden Girls, which I guess is a signal that this is the past. There's also a first aid spray reference, which is cute, and I'd appreciate all these little references more if they were in a better movie. It's another example of that focusing on the small details thing instead of the big picture. So this is the Raccoon City Orphanage, which was a location that was added for the RE2 remake. You can tell a lot of the details for this movie are taken from the remakes rather than the original games. They made some parts of this look almost exactly like they did in the remake, which is cool and all, but it's another small detail thing, because immediately veering off course in a more significant way is us learning that Chris and Claire are orphans staying at this place. And the orphanage is being run by William Birkin, played by good old Irish bison himself, Neil McDonough. William Birkin is one of Umbrella's top scientists, so obviously it makes sense for him to be wasting his time working directly in this orphanage. Now, just like in the remake, the orphanage is also being used by Umbrella to get test subjects, but you don't need your main scientist to actually be working in there for that. In the remake, they had Chief Irons be the one who was getting orphans for Umbrella to test on, and that would have given his character something more in this movie to do if he is still involved with that, because for the most part his inclusion is pretty pointless. And pointless is exactly what adding this backstory to Chris and Claire is. All this mostly does is make Claire have some stare-offs with Birkin later because she escaped before they were going to test on her. Also, it gives Claire a backstory with Lisa Trevor, who is also hanging around the orphanage for reasons unknown.
Lisa Trevor?
The scene with Kid Claire meeting Lisa Trevor is at least slightly creepy, but it's confusing why this is really here. Lisa Trevor was a character in Boss Fight added for the RE1 remake. She was the daughter of the architect who helped build the Arkley Mansion, who Umbrella betrayed because they betray everyone and they experimented on her. None of that backstory is actually in this movie, so she's just here as a reference. Years later, in '98, Claire is heading back to Raccoon City to tell her brother Chris that he's a dummy for missing all the obvious signs that Umbrella is evil.
Okay, is that seriously put on there?
I guess she never really bothered to tell Chris about Birkin's attempted abduction of her as a kid, or Chris's stupidity knows no bounds, could be either. Originally in the games, Claire is coming to
Are we not gonna go through this movie from beginning to end, just like with the other Resident Alice movies? Because if we aren't, that's a bit disappointing.
her brother as he's gone missing shortly after the Arkley Mansion incident, but that of course hasn't happened here yet. Instead of taking a motorbike to Raccoon City, Claire's riding with Mr. Crashy Truck Driver from RE2, which was the original reason Claire and Leon get separated in that game. He at least had the excuse of turning into a zombie for crashing in the game. Here he's just a bad driver before that and runs into a zombie because he's being a creep to Claire. His Doberman, that definitely won't turn into a Cerberus, is pretty talented and can open truck doors. It's important that the dog can do this so it can lick up zombie blood, as the unobservant duo somehow miss the zombie woman getting up and wandering off right beside them. And why wouldn't the zombie just attack them? Because it's the beginning of the movie. We then get another weird Resident Evil alteration with text telling us that Raccoon City is kind of a backward slump town. I get the feeling this is partly due to COVID so they could explain not as many people and zombies being around.
Oh.
You know how they could have done a movie with less people around? If they had just done one focusing on the Arkley Mansion incident. Raccoon City being behind the times, I guess, is also why there's some old, even for 98 things around. Like, Chris has a top-loader VCR and a rather ancient-looking TV. There's also quite a bit of wood paneling around. People are nostalgic enough for 98 at this point, so making a bunch of things feel about 10 years older than that seems odd.
I want to see.
Why don't you just take a seat and leave the poor kid alone, huh, Wesker?
Wesker! You prankster. Good old flannel Wesker, just how I always picture him.
$10. $10 says you can't shoot that off from here.
That's easy.
That's our Jill, ready to kill Leon just for pranks. It's sad even Wesker thinks she's nuts.
Hey!
You snooze, you lose.
What?
It's Jill Sandwich now.
She said it, Jill Sandwich. That should probably bring me more joy than it actually does here. Trucker's dog, of course, zombies out from the blood snack earlier and bites him instead of getting bitten by a maniac at the rest stop.
That guy's a maniac. Why'd he bite me?
Claire, the master of unlock.
Wait, what is...
Why'd he...
What did she use to pick... Oh, wait, never mind. I literally thought she was gonna lockpick the door with the knife, but it wasn't at the lockpick. It was just between the door lines and such, which I saw Wolverine do in X-Men Origins Wolverine, so I thought it was another level of stupidity for a second.
Claire, the master of unlocking, I guess.
After you ran away, William was the closest thing I had to family. I owe this town, I owe Birkin and Umbrella everything.
If there is a bigger sense of betrayal or any kind of big character moments with Chris and Birkin later, there might have been at least some point to adding this weird backstory to Chris, but no, it just makes him look like a doofus. Claire shows Chris a tape of Ben Bertolucci, the investigative journalist who originally got into trouble when he started looking into Chief Iron's involvement with Umbrella. Here, he just got in trouble for investigating what Umbrella was up to at all.
I'm sorry, I gotta get ready for work.
Me, Chris Dummy. Me go punch boulders later. Sherry Birkin has a prophetic dream across continuities about her father as a G-Virus mutant coming after her like what happened in RE2. Sherry only dreams about it here because they don't actually have time to have it actually happen as they jam this movie with too much other stuff. We see Annette Birkin here who really does nothing in this movie besides being a person who exists. This is kind of funny coming off the RE2 remake that really expanded on her character, and here she doesn't even seem to work for Umbrella and contributes pretty much zip all.
Oh my god.
For your safety, please stay in your homes and await further instructions.
We basically want you to stay home and do nothing, so we raised an alarm that'd make you all panic like idiots.
Get out of here. Don't touch the bike.
Can't wait for her to touch that bike. After being amazed by more Umbrella product placement, another game reference occurs with a zombie scrawling Itchy Tasty on the door. This is just referencing though, while losing the complete context of Itchy Tasty and why it was interesting / amusing at all. This phrase was first found in a journal from a worker at the Arkley Mansion. They get infected, so as you go through their entries, they start losing their mind, with the final entry just reading Itchy Tasty because they were mostly a zombie by that point.
Wow.
If I was going to adapt Itchy Tasty, I'd have it be in the mansion with two characters finding the journal and reading parts of it for some pertinent information, but then start having it build up tension as they realize what they are reading as it gets more messed up. Had the character reading stop and look confused. The other asks, "What's it say?" Dramatic pause. Itchy Tasty? Then boom, the zombie comes out of the closet like in the game. Instead, here we have a zombie that we already know is there, smash through the door shortly after, and repeat Itchy Tasty for no real reason. Oh man, she touched that bike. We then see the RPD, which looks almost exactly like it did in the remakes. Capcom in fact gave them blueprints for the main RPD hall and the main hall of the Arkley Mansion, so those areas look spot on. A problem here with the grandiose RPD hall though is it doesn't match the crappy wood panel design we see in every other room. Also, there was a reason the RPD looked the way it did in the game. The building was a converted art museum. In this movie, we've got nothing. I've also got nothing on what STARS is even supposed to be in this movie. STARS is supposed to be like special forces, but there's barely any force at all left in this version of Raccoon City.
What would the worst way to die be?
What?
To be swallowed whole by a snake or eaten alive by a great white shark?
Get it? Because they aren't actually going to adapt either of those things, so Jill just mentions them.
Okay, Chief, what's this all about?
What the fuck are you doing here, Leon?
You said everyone into the briefing room.
I didn't mean you moron.
See, if it was a briefing just for STARS, you'd think Irons could have just said that, but all STARS seems to be is everyone on the force except Leon.
I want you dressed in 5, all of you, and ready to fly because I want to know where the hell Bravo Team is.
It seems a little silly calling 2 guys Bravo Team, but that's all it is in this. No Rebecca Chambers or anything, just the 2 chuckle fucks that came in and made fun of Leon earlier in the diner. But in bigger news, Wesker gets a pager page telling him to go get a super secret Palm Pilot. Wesker, you're pitiful. Let's put that in the pilot.
What is that?
Now it's Trucker's time to shine, and this time he decides to crash and explode right in front of the Raccoon Police Department. And wow, if you thought Claire and Trucker missed obvious things earlier with the zombie skedaddling right in front of them, Leon apparently is in deep hibernation as he sleeps through an explosion happening a few feet away from him.
What?
With the doors wide open even. Also, I don't know why the doors are open like that in the rain.
Oh. What?
It's just a little crush.
Oh my god, the stupidity of this is amazing. There are so many levels of stupidity. Why are the doors open? How come Leon slept through that? And the zombie is not walking like an actual zombie. He's just like, I'm on fire, don't mind me.
Okay, that's probably one of the funniest moments in the movie. They might as well have had more moments like that going on because this movie didn't have a whole lot else going for it. I mean, I just wish Welcome to Raccoon City would have chosen a particular tone to go with. I do love the contrast here of the giant grandiose hall and then Chief Irons'
How is that funny? That's stupid!
dinky little wood panel office. Irons decides to take off and leave Leon in charge of no one, I guess, even though there's quite a few vehicles still in the parking lot for no one else being there. You might think rookie Leon being in charge might lead to something amusing or anything at all, but it doesn't. He does nothing and then Irons comes back later. Anyway, 41 minutes into this mostly RE2 adaptation, RE1 starts. Though this time they just find the Bravo Bros crash Jeep instead of a chopper.
What the hell happened here?
It looks like a crow made a forest sandwich.
Really? They went this way.
By the way, this is Richard Aiken, the guy you usually find laying around selling his snake bites.
Oh, Jill, this house is dangerous. There are terrible demons. Ouch!
He's supposed to be a part of Star's Bravo team, but they've added him to Star's Alpha team for some reason. Gee, it's not like there's any particular character from Alpha team they could have added in that's missing or anything. Of course, Richard is just here to suck and die, and if that's all they would have done with Barry, I guess it might as well have been Richard instead. With this version of the mansion, it's a complete forest right in front of it, even though Umbrella is still using the place. So, as mentioned, the mansion hall looks great, and I wish they did more with the area, but seeing how they actually filmed it with most of it being a green screen, I see why not a whole lot happens here. Would have been nice if they actually built more of it and then done more with the area, but when the whole mansion plot is shoved in as much as it is here, I see why it was done half fake.
What is this? Wow. What a mansion!
We should split up.
What? Alright, we go in pairs.
Old Wesky isn't even the captain of Stars in this one.
We split up. Oh, we go in pairs. That's a little amusing. That's a little amusing.
It is. Chief Irons is apparently in some kind of comedy movie over in his little world.
Raccoon City, lockdown and secure.
You shot a couple people and some drove away. How's the city secured at all? So things have now ramped up over with the RE2.
Was that Hunk?
With zombies swarming the RPD, but back over at the mansion, they're still slowly building up to a single zombie showing up. So, this is just really screwing up the story flow. Some of these scenes of just exploring around the mansion could really work, but in a different movie that was handling the story differently. The strangeness and creepiness the mansion has to offer as a location is unfortunately largely lost with how this movie handles things. After the first zombie, a bunch just all show up at once and the movie gets overly loud instead of trying to set a creepy atmosphere at all.
It's a monster! Ouch!
This, unfortunately, is the only use of the Four Non-Blondes What's Up song in the actual movie, which you may remember was the main song featured in the trailer to hilarious results. You're almost a He-Man sandwich. Hey, yeah, hey, yeah.
I don't get it.
I probably got more enjoyment out of the trailer for using that song than I did the actual movie, and since it's kinda stupid anyway, I'd rather them just feature silly shit like this. Really though, even ignoring the He-Man meme, which is really hard to do, Four Non-Blondes What's Up is a bizarre song choice if you want this to be taken seriously. Anyway, Wesker's looking up an FAQ on his pilot so he can speedrun Resident Evil 1 and be able to fit it into RE2.
Ah, it's the Moonlight Sonata.
This is, of course, another little detail from the game series that they're being hyper-accurate about, but not really being utilized in a way that elevates this adaptation. The Moonlight Sonata can be a quite haunting tune, and I probably would have had this being played at the same time that a zombie attack or another dramatic event was happening with one or some of the other characters in the mansion.
Wow, that would have been better.
The fact that this opened up a secret passage confused the characters and make them realize that there's some really weird things being hidden in this mansion. Welcome to Raccoon City barely even lets this moment sit a second before old Chickenheart Vickers crashes his helicopter into the room for some pointless loudness. It completely destroys the quiet, creepy Moonlight Sonata creepy passage moment just a bit. Also, I'm glad Vickers managed to take off and crash after being attacked. He's always so useful. Back to
Yeah, I think that scene pretty much sums up the movie. They ruined the creepiness of Resident Evil 1 and 2 with just a couple of explosions.
Resident Evil 2 still in progress. Off-screen, Leon and Claire have solved some strange puzzles in the police station so they could unlock the supply room.
I got a shotgun.
That's good, right? Probably wondering what a guy like me is doing as a cop, right?
Whatever.
So, I know the Raccoon City Police Department always has a rather bonkers layout, but in this version of it, you have to go through the supply room to get to the holding cells? That seems slightly stupid.
Is he okay?
Oh, yeah, no, he's fucking fine. Yeah. Man, who doesn't cough up a little blood on the floor when they're feeling sick?
Leon, you've seen zombies are a thing already. You have to be trying to be this stupid.
Leon.
That is just stupid. And the guy who was being sarcastic, I can imagine him being a representation of some frustrated fanboy who finds many parts of this movie stupid.
On S. Kennedy. What's the S stand for, stupid?
Yeah. Leon Stupid Kennedy shows off them skills again and lets Ben grab him and take away his pistol. Now, if you've played any version of RE2, you know things don't go well for Ben here, but instead of him getting killed off by Mr. X, who's not in this movie, or William Birkin, who's not a Super G mutant yet, he gets a major downgrade.
Mr. X is not in the movie either? Fuck!
And is taken out by a regular zombie. A zombie he knew he was sharing a cell with, and even despite having a firearm, lets it come up and bite him.
Ben! Big Ben! Shredded!
I got a shotgun.
I just really want to get out of this town.
Whatever.
Back over to the ultra-condensed RE1, the piano puzzle now leads directly to the Umbrella Labs.
Wesker, what's going on?
I said, hey, what's going on? And I said, Wesker, Wesker.
They contacted me several months ago. They're just some people with a vested interest in getting hold of whatever dirty secrets Umbrella are keeping down there and exposing them. It's just money.
So they've completely changed who Wesker is, and he has no connection at all to Umbrella. He's not even really a bad guy, just one who accepted a side mission for money to expose an evil company.
Wesker! Wesker!
Wesker!
Chief,
Wesker is not the bad guy. Wesker is not the bad guy. I mean, okay, he's kind of ridiculous in Resident Evil 5, and I absolutely hate that game. But what the fuck?
Irons thinks that the chopper Vickers head is the only way out of Raccoon's small town, so he leads Leon and Claire over to the orphanage, which apparently has a passage that leads all the way up into the Arkley Mountains Spencer Mansion. That's supposed to be pretty far off from the main city. That's one hell of a tunnel.
This place has a secret passageway that leads to the Spencer Mansion.
How do you know about this place?
That's how they reveal Chief Irons was in the pocket of Umbrella, with an off-screen mumbly line by Claire? This is no payoff either, as he's killed off immediately after this by a licker. It's weird they kept Chief Irons alive this long, and apparently just so he could say there's a passageway in the orphanage. This is again strange coming off the RE2 remake, which this movie copies a lot of elements from, yet Chief Irons was expanded into a major asshole villain in that game.
Sherry, tie her hands.
Why are you doing
Shut up. You tie her up now, or she dies.
And here, they just don't do much of anything with him, despite him surviving for so long. And really, why is it always the lickers? Why are the hunters never put into these live-action movies? This movie doesn't even utilize the licker that well, because instead of building it up as a major threat, immediately Lisa Trevor comes in and kills it for her BFF Claire, who said, "Hey, what's going on?" to her 20 years ago.
We need to get to the Spencer Mansion. We know how.
don't you?
Seems like a large leap there, but of course she does. She even hands Claire the card suit keys, which in the games were used to get around the RPD. Here, all but the club key are apparently useless, but having a secret behind a painting like this is at least very Resident Evil.
Thank you.
We'd invite you to come along and not die, Lisa, but you're weird. Guess we weren't really that good of friends. So, Claire...
I didn't watch the movie, and I am experiencing so much pain from this. Lisa Trevor. A slow, not that strong, bullet sponge of a woman-turned monster defeats a super fast, blind as hell, sharp licker who is blind! And she doesn't even attack anyone! And she doesn't even... And they don't even invite her along. You know what would have been better if Lisa Trevor was a presence in the police station? Even as stupid and as inaccurate as it is, take out one or two humans or zombies or whatever. She sees Claire, she just stabs. By the way, how did Lisa recognize Claire? And I think it would have been far more disturbing and sad if Lisa Trevor was like, kill me. Just did it!
Claire and Leon prepare to go on the longest elevator ride of their lives. Meanwhile, Chris is playing around with some zombies and his lighter as Bravo Team Zombie is getting closer and closer to him. I guess stupid Chris is just sitting there and waiting to see what the zombie's gonna do once it gets to him. I hope.
Oh my god. There is an absolute missed opportunity right here. I think it would have been very, very cool if there was a hide and seek with the zombie in the dark. Chris uses the lighter, the zombie sees like, ah! But Chris turns off the lighter and tries to hide, and the zombie cannot see in the dark. It's like, eh? Eh? You had a missed opportunity! In fact, Train to Busan sort of had that idea. I didn't watch Train to Busan. I've seen a few clips and I watched the Zombies in this video.
This will be Chris's blood. Then, in a bit of nonsense, the zombie, who is smarter than Chris, I guess, goes into super quick stealth mode and sneaks around him. Luckily for him, though, he gets saved by the master of gun locking.
Wesker betrayed us, Chris.
No he didn't. This isn't like the game where Wesker helped lure you here to see how stars would face up against the T-virus monsters. Here he is just gonna get some Umbrella intel to sell while you're at the mansion anyway.
He was gonna leave us here to die.
These are some wild conclusions to jump to, Jill. I could see being upset he was hiding his Palm Pilot mission, but just because he wanted to get some money to get out of this city that's falling apart doesn't mean he wanted his friends dead. Anyway, going straight down from the orphanage has apparently led Leon and Claire up into the Arkley Mountains, and the first thing they find is a Code Veronica reference with the Ashford twins, who were the main antagonists in that game, but they have no context here. This is just being used to show how Umbrella experimented on children, but this doesn't really show any T-virus mutation or anything, so it's just a strange thing to use for that purpose.
Don't you think?
Wesker runs into the Birkins down the lab, which seems massively downscaled from the games. William's trying to run off with his precious G-virus, but gets shot when he tries to pull a gun on Wesker, and of course this leads to him sticking himself with the G-virus. A little bit like how it happened in the game, but of course that happens at the beginning of RE2's story, so G-Mutant Birkin was a continuing creepy presence. But here it's not happening until almost the end of the movie, so it's really rushed and rather underwhelming. Much like Weekster, who gets shot in the back by Jill, who always shoots first and asks questions later. I'm beginning to think they adapted Jill from those silly Resident Hazard videos I made.
Don't screw up again.
All right.
Resident Hazard? And Failers made these types of parody abridged videos? I might have to check that out.
Take cover immediately. We're gonna get you out of here.
No, Jill, I fucked up. Umbrella are gonna destroy this place. All of Raccoon, okay? There's a train tunnel beneath this facility.
Cool, so someone else dumping an escape on people right before they die. At least Wesker didn't get taken out by a door this time, I suppose. But again, this guy was barely Wesker at all.
Don't you think?
I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry.
Wesker, you're pitiful.
I wouldn't have pulled the trigger, kid.
I know I shot your mom and dad, but I wouldn't shoot you barely in the movie, Sherry.
Wesker!
I bet that wasn't in his pilot. This Wesker death scene is a bit like when you take the Barry dies path in RE1. And that scene is probably the one I've seen the least in that game.
Chris! Come out and play.
How does Birkin even know Chris is there? He was dead on the floor by the time old Redfield got his lazy ass in the lab. And you know what they say, 6 eyes are better than 1.
I almost feel sad having to kill you. Almost.
Oh jeez, what was I...
And he still regained his intelligence and speaks. Oh my gosh! Accurate in all the wrong ways is right. They got the looks. It's all flash and no substance! That's what this movie is!
Thinking when I said there's like no payoff to the Chris loves his Birkin storyline, because there it is. Claire saves Chris, and that's seriously the end of the first Birkin boss fight. He said a couple of mean things to Chris, grabbed him by the throat, and then bye-bye Birkin. Don't worry though, this movie is completing both the A and B scenarios, so Birkin will be back for another round of underwhelming us on the underground train. Claire and Chris hit him in his eyes for a bit, like the remake, and then Leon does his little rocket launcher set, and that's Bye Bye Birkin Part 2, the final chapter. Luckily, I guess exploding Birkin with that rocket launcher right beside everyone else didn't injure them at all. After that, we see the origins of Bessie Hellcow, and we see that Wesker's been After that, we see the origins of Bessie Hellcow, and we see that Wesker has been brought back to life by fan service. I mean Ada Wong, who tells him that he forgot his perpetual shades.
You never told me your name.
My name is Ada Wong.
And that's the movie of super accurate, tiny details packed into a cluttered sandwich. This could have gone for either being a more fun zombie movie romp or something more creepy, and it didn't really choose either. It was a huge mistake joining RE1 and 2 like this, and not just because that's not how the games went, but it's rushing too many things into one story and doesn't give most of the characters enough time to feel like they matter. And also, this really ruins the overall pacing and flow. That said, it was still nice to see a Resident Evil movie actually about Resident Evil characters and not about clones, superpowers, and lasers. Also, I do like some of the references being added here. I just wish the overall movie wasn't quite so broken. However, I will take this broken, messed up version of actual Resident Evil things and would watch it again over any of the Resident Alice series, if I was gonna watch either of these things again. And Barry! Where's Barry? Oh my god! I can't believe. and other very things. As long as I do those, it was a good review. I'm Wesker. I don't need my sunglasses.
Could this be better than Resident Alice? After what I've seen? A little bit, but not by much. I'm sure people might just be happy that it's not Resident Alice again. But that movie is nothing but a rushed, soulless cash grab that doesn't get the spirit of the game. It doesn't have the heart and soul, it just has the looks, and that's it. As someone who enjoyed Resident Evil 1, 2 remake, and yes, even the Resident Evil 2 original, I am insulted. I am insulted by many things. In fact, I'm gonna go check something out here. I'm actually gonna check to see if this movie pretty much fails. Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City. 31% on Rotten Tomatoes, 5.2 out of 10 on IMDb, 3.8 out of 5 on Voodoo. 58% liked this movie. What?! Stupid! Okay, let's see. The budget was $25 million and the box office was $41.9 million. This is another case where Rotten Tomatoes is full of shit. Even though I ironically looked at Rotten Tomatoes and relied on it for the past couple years. I'm stupid, I know. Received mixed reviews from critics with its faithfulness of the first two games being praised. Dude, they just got the looks, not the heart and soul of the damn movie. Are you high? Are you high? Also, Leon S. Kennedy doesn't look like Leon at all. He just looks ugly. Who's the actor? Avon Joga? It is the wrong casting. Robbie Amell stated he hopes to return as Chris in the sequel, which includes his ball punching scene from Resident Evil 5. Disgusting human beings. That's what many people are nowadays. If you are a Resident Evil fan and think, just let me know what you think down in the comments below. I sure as hell am not watching that movie. Because after what I've seen from the review, I am so happy I did not see it. Is it better than Resident Alice? I can kind of see where they're coming from. I mean, I never watched the movies either, but I watched the Failures reviews, which is more than enough for me. Let me know in the comments, would you prefer Resident Alice or Resident Evil that doesn't have the heart and soul? If you like what you see, please consider liking and subscribing to my channel, and I hope you have a good day or night, and take care, you disgusting human beings.